We have a lovely presentation for you this morning. I would like to introduce, and I'm honored to introduce, Emily Berry. She is ready to go. She's got a fascinating presentation for us, and I'm going to turn it over to her, and she will guide us along the way. So, welcome, Emily, and thank you for taking the time to be with us.
Oh, thank you, Hallie. It's an honor to be here. Today, we are talking about finding connection while living with an invisible illness, specifically LAM. And I just want to say that we chose this presentation after talking together. And there is so much that can be covered. And we're just going to do 30 minutes on connection today. So if there's anything else that in the future you're curious about or want to learn more about, please give feedback to your liaisons. Um, First, I want to acknowledge that each of you is coming from a different context on this topic. So some of you may have been newly diagnosed with LAM and are trying to understand what this means for your life and for your relationships. Some of you have lived with LAM for many years. Some of you are able to work, and some of you are not. Your health may be stable, or you may be right now in the trenches facing a surgery or other medical procedures. So, again, a little bit about me. So, my name is Emily Berry, pronounced like berry, like a strawberry or raspberry. And I am a registered psychotherapist with Meadowbrook Counseling and Healthcare Associates in Markham, Ontario. I am an integrationist, which means that I use many tools and modalities to come up with the right recipe for the clients that I work with. I tend to focus a lot with clients on life transitions, which often means working through grief over change, because all change is loss, dealing with negative thoughts, and finding hope and resilience in the midst of suffering. It's important for you to know, though, that I am not a doctor and this is not therapy. So after this presentation, I will answer questions that are more general in the Q&A time, which will not be recorded. Also, you should know that I do not have LAM, but I have been honored to support and learn from clients who do and others who have invisible illnesses. So here's what we will be covering today. What is loneliness and what does it look like with LAM? Why do we need connection? What are the barriers to getting the connections that I want? And how can I form the kinds of connections that I want while living with LAM? Some of you might have already figured most of this out for yourself, and some of you are still on this journey. So today, I hope that you can find something to take away from this talk for yourself and something that you can give to someone else. So first, of course, what is loneliness? I like how Brene Brown defines it in her book, Atlas of the Heart. Loneliness is an emotion that signals a need for connection with self or others. So loneliness could signal an absence of connection from one's own self with identity and purpose, or an absence of meaningful relationships. Today, we will focus on meaningful connection in relationships with others. As therapists, we say that no feeling is good or bad. Every feeling, every emotion has a function. So we ask questions like, what is the function of loneliness? What is it trying to do for us? And I've come to the conclusion that if we didn't feel loneliness, we might not realize that we are disconnected and that we need connection. So this is where we're going to be a little more interactive. I have a question for you, and you can type it in the chat and I'll say it anonymously. What does loneliness look like in living with LAM? I'll give you guys a minute to answer. And I will not read your name out loud. Thank you. People not understanding what you're going through. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, people don't understand that you're sick. Um, no one understands what you're living with. Yeah, this is living. This is day-to-day life, living with LAM. Not being able to participate in the same activities as others. This is massive. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. So here's a few that I also came up with. Um, so maybe you feel like others can't understand your limitations, or they misinterpret why you can't connect like you used to. Maybe your friendship circle has shrunk through having this illness because making plans is difficult when you don't know how you're going to feel from day to day. Maybe some of you have been let down by those who said that they would support you. And you don't know if you want to rebuild a friendship with this person or if you want to do the hard work of making new friends. So, what are some of the problems associated with ongoing loneliness? Because we all feel loneliness from time to time. And there's some obvious ones like mental health problems such as depression and anxiety. Um, Many studies conducted correlate loneliness and social isolation with worsening mental health and the worsening of physical illnesses. We don't need to spend a lot of time on that. Um, but then we need to know what is the reverse. So, why build meaningful connections with others, as connection is the answer to loneliness? So, I found a 2015 article that did a good job of summing up a lot of studies that have previously been done on loneliness. And connection by saying that researchers found close social ties to be a protective factor with regard to health. And I found this particularly interesting. People who had unhealthy habits, such as smoking, obesity, and physical inactivity, but embraced close social ties, lived longer than those who had more health promoting habits but lacked these important social connections. So, what have been the barriers? What are the barriers to forming deep connections with others? And you guys already provided some great answers that I think relate. But I'm going to give you guys another minute to just fill us in on any barriers you notice to trying to form some of those deep connections with others. Oh, yes. Allowing myself to be vulnerable. Oh, that's a big one. That's a big one. Yep, fear, absolutely. Fatigue. Yep. Having to explain to new people. Don't you wish you could probably print out a pamphlet and just hand it out when you need to? Asking for help. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a big one. Yeah. So I put a lot of these in here and we're going to go a little deeper with that. So the ones that I was thinking about and that I've heard are, mindsets and negative thoughts. So thoughts like others will reject me, and maybe they have in the past. Um, they won't understand. I don't need anyone else. I'm doing fine on my own. It's scary or embarrassing to talk about myself or what I'm experiencing. I've been isolated so long that I'm out of practice forming and keeping up with relationships. And then, too, practically, you may be really tired, your brain feels foggy, busy with medical appointments. Maybe you're not able to be consistent in keeping up with appointments because your health changes all the time. And then social media. Social media can give us a certain measure of connection, but often it gives us the illusion of connection. And if overused, it can often lead to feeling more alone as we compare our lives to others. Sometimes we expect others to read our minds. They should just know what we need without telling them. So, an example is maybe you expected your best friend, we'll call her Karen, to know that you want her to call you daily because you feel you're isolated and you feel lonely. But on her end, maybe she knows that you had a surgery last week and she thinks, oh, she probably needs some space and some time to heal. I won't bother her. And then another might be others don't understand my need for connection. And so they go on with their lives. So, next, what does it take to connect with others? And I am sure there is a lot of wisdom in this group already, and I'll share the things that. So, I do want to give an opportunity to let you guys type a few things of what you found it takes to connect with others. Mm, take a chance and reach out. The answer is always no unless you ask. That's good. Ooh, trust. Trust is big. Educating the people close to you. Mm-hmm. Oh, being honest with how you feel. Oh, that's hard for all of us, isn't that? That's hard for all of us sometimes. Patience. Oh, yeah. Patience. Yeah. Oh, thank you guys for being so interactive. I'm loving this. Feeling deserving of deep connection. Oof, there's a lot there. That could be a presentation in and of itself. Wow, yeah. Mm. So here's some of the ones I came up with, and I'm hoping to give you guys some tools as well as we go. So yeah, a healthy mindset. So are you open to connecting with others? Do you believe that you're worthy of healthy connection? Do I believe that I can be a good friend to others? That's another big one. Um, Also, do I know what I want from connection? Do I want to meet with somebody for coffee weekly? Is that something that I'm looking for? Or just to have somebody sit with me and listen to me for a while? Um, do I know my needs? And then on the other hand, we talked a little bit about connection. So, knowing your capacity, your physical and your mental capacity. So, this might sound like telling a friend, hey, I'm struggling today. I can only connect for 1 hour over the phone or 30 minutes. Um, and it's important to note that being able to connect with others while putting up the physical boundaries that we need can keep us from resentment in our relationships. Okay. So I'm going to kind of take a tiny detour just for a minute because I'm finding this to be something that comes up often, and I'm hoping this might be useful to you. So we just talked a little bit about openness and boundaries, two things that can seem like opposites. So in living with a long-term illness, there are many truths that can be beneficial to balance. So, you're probably working through accepting reality and working to change it. So, accepting that you have LAM, but also I'm working to try to figure out what healthy looks like or where I want to be. Validating yourself and others. So, maybe I feel lonely and others are busy, but and instead of but and acknowledging mistakes. So, yes, I feel lonely. I'm also really not reaching out. I know others are busy, but I asked them to reach out and they didn't. Working on improving yourself and accepting yourself exactly as you are. Woo, that's a big one. Problem solving and problem acceptance. Independence and dependence. So if you lean more towards trying to change your reality, I encourage you to try on working to accept it as well. If you lean more towards independence, try working on healthy dependence with others as well. And this is hard. I want to acknowledge that this is not easy. However, being able to hold two truths at the same time does lead to a healthier mindset overall. And continuing on in this vein, communicating my needs. I love it. You guys hit so many of these points already. So it is my responsibility to tell others what I need. So, for example, you might need to tell a friend, hey, I'm tired today. I'm also feeling lonely and I would like to talk more. So, can you stop by for a visit this week? And maybe if that day I'm not feeling well, could we have a phone call instead? And then this next one is pretty general, pretty big, but finding our person or people. Maybe you haven't found people that you connect with in this phase of life, in this part of life. So asking questions of yourself, like what kind of person would be good for me to connect with? Do our values align? And here's another question. How much do your values need to align with someone to connect with them? And obviously, there's layers to connection. Um, so, can I handle the differences in others and still be willing to connect? Or are there certain core things that I really would like some agreement on so that we can have a deeper connection? Is there anyone already in your sphere of relationships that you could get closer to? So, this is something that I use a lot with clients. And you can use this relationship bullseye to evaluate closeness with others. So, picture yourself right in the middle of this bullseye. And usually we have around, I'm really estimating here, so it could be different for you, but 1 to 3 core relationships, 2 to 10 close relationships, and 10 to 50 extended relationships. So I encourage you to think about, who is in your inner circle. So this might be a friend or a family member or a partner. Someone once said to me that we are lucky if we have 5 core relationships in, get this, a lifetime. Sometimes we feel like we have to make more and more friends to feel less lonely, but oftentimes our efforts are better spent improving the quality of our existing relationships. So, based on what you are looking for in a friend right now, would you move anyone closer or farther in this bullseye? And how would you do that? Does it need to be a conversation? Um, and if you're having some issues with a friend, um, can you manage the connection with putting up a boundary? Um, and does that need to be a conversation too? It's important to note that we will not connect closely with everyone. You may feel more connected to one person and not another during different seasons in your life. Also, some people have more capacity for connection at this time than others. And does that change your expectation of if you put them in your core or your close or your extended circle? So, continuing on, someone mentioned this, and this is hard for everyone. I want to normalize that right now. This is hard for everyone. If I want connection, I have to be vulnerable. So, healthy vulnerability, what does that look like? It looks like deciding what I feel safe sharing, depending on the evidence I have for safety in the relationship. Is this a safe person? And I may have to share something about myself before others feel comfortable sharing about themselves. You also set your boundaries. So, this might mean when talking with LAM friends, you share a lot about LAM, but not as much about other areas of your life right away. You decide what topics feel safe. You can also say, you know what, I don't feel comfortable sharing about that topic. That's okay. You're allowed. You can also, oh, and something to note is that you might need to educate someone. This was mentioned in the chat too. You might need to educate someone about how your illness impacts you daily so that you can feel more understood and they can be more empathetic and flexible to you. And speaking of empathy, we need to be empathetic for others. And one way we can do that is cultivating a genuine interest and curiosity about what they say. So if they share about a soccer game they went to, or a baseball game they went to, um, you can show that you care about them by saying, hey, that's really interesting. What did that mean to you? Tell me more. Or if they're sharing about a relationship, tell me more about, what's going on for you. Ask others questions about themselves. Questions like, what do you feel comfortable sharing about yourself? Um, if you're talking to someone with LAM, what has living with LAM look like for you? That's a question that's open. They could share anything. They could share the good, the bad, or the ugly. And they get to decide their boundary. Um, you could also ask, hey, what's been difficult for you lately? Or on the other hand, what's been a glimmer of hope or joy in your life lately? And don't forget that this won't always be perfectly proportionate, give and take 50-50 all the time. One of you, if you're in a conversation, may need more space to talk at that particular time. And this is normal. But when the other needs more space to talk, be ready to listen. So, as we end this portion, did this bring up anything for you? Um, and I want to go back to acknowledging relationships are hard. Relationships are hard. But here's some next steps that you can take if you're feeling a bit stuck. You can ask yourself, what is loneliness trying to tell me right now? Am I feeling disconnected? You can make a list of the friends you have. You can also notice, does something need to change so I can find connection? Does something about the way I've been viewing others or viewing myself, or something an action I could take need to change? And talk to someone you trust. If there's somebody who knows you really, really well, they might have some beautiful insights for you that could help you figure out how to get unstuck. And then, of course, there's therapists. So this is my email and the website to where I work. Now, I will say that as Canadians, I don't know how it works in the States, but as Canadians, if you're in another province than Ontario, because I work in Ontario, working with the clients in another province can be complicated ethically. So I do encourage you to find a therapist who's registered in your own province if possible. Thank you so much for your attention and your time. I hope this has been useful.